Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the electric bike company Model F folding electric bike. So let's get into it. Before we get into the walk around of this beautiful electric bike, if you are looking to purchase any model from Electric Bike Company, please do us a favor and check out the link in the description. If you click that link before you make your purchase, it helps support Ebike Escape and makes videos like this one possible. Thanks in advance for your support. I'll also include links down in the description to our electric bike accessories lists. Speaking of accessories, I have the brand new Senna R2X Smart Helmet, one of our favorite helmet brands, so you can check out that. We'll also put a link in the top right-hand corner to our Senna helmet review. Other links down in the description, our top e-bike brands page, and of course our electric bike discounts code page, where we track all the deals on the electric bike brands that we follow. With that, let's get into the walk around of the brand new Electric Bike Company Model F. Now, F stands for folding. And what's really exciting about the release of the Model F is it kind of goes away from what Electric Bike Company has focused on to date, which is more California cruiser style electric bikes, large handlebars, kind of Wizard of Oz style, if you will. And so I'm really excited that they got into folding electric bikes. I hope they continue to release other models with different frame designs outside of the cruiser style electric bikes, because I think the quality is so excellent in what I still call the affordable bike category. Speaking of affordability, this bike is currently priced at $17.99, though you should note that that does not include shipping, because they do ship these bikes via freight, which means it arrives at your door virtually fully assembled, not a scratch on the frame. So that does cost some additional money, but of course you don't necessarily have to pay a bike mechanic to set it up. And this is one of the few direct-to-consumer companies that are doing this, and I think it's really awesome, especially for people who don't want to have to worry about setting up their electric bike. And this isn't the first electric bike company electric bike we've reviewed. We've also reviewed their affordable Model E, as well as a dual motor Model R. You can check out those videos if you are interested. And checking those bikes out in detail got me super excited about the brand, and pretty much I'm open to reviewing any of their models because I just think they do such an awesome job. One of the other unique things about Electric Bike Company is they have their own paint shop, so you can actually customize the frame color. So this is the red. You can also get white and black. Those are kind of the three standard colors. But if you want your frame a different color, even your front fork, they also sell awesome high quality front baskets here, as well as fenders. You can get those all color customized, all on their website using their color customizer. Okay, enough talk about how awesome the brand is. Let's get into the specs of this particular bike. Let's start up here in the front here with these brakes. So at least on the levers, these are Bengal hydraulic disc brakes. I didn't see any branding on the actual calipers here, so I can only assume that they are the same brand, but they do perform really well. And of course, hydraulic disc brakes are definitely preferred. And at this price point, it's really nice to see hydraulic disc brakes. They're a little bit easier on the hands and of course, increased stopping power, and they're a little less finicky as well. Less finicky to adjust, that is. We have 180 millimeter rotors, and you can see the hardware that they use, even down to the details of this quick release. It just is much higher quality than you see on many electric bikes. They also lace their wheels in-house, and it might be difficult to see on camera, but if I put another electric bike Next to this, looking at the rims, you can just tell that these are of higher quality. Even comes down to some of the smaller details. You can see the Electric Bike Company branding on the front hub here. So overall, the quality is very high on this electric bike. And of course, I already talked about the paint colors. Now, one of the main differences on this bike compared to other folding bikes is this bike comes with 24-inch by 3-inch tires. So a lot of brands include 20 by 3-inch or 20 by 4-inch. So Electric Bike Company did something a little bit different. Stay tuned until the end of the walk around and I'll kind of share with how this fits me and talk a little bit about the frame geometry and how these tires affect the frame geometry and how this bike sits. Now, these tires are branded Electric Bike Company. I would imagine there's a different manufacturer behind these, but they are a street tread here and they do say premium puncture resistant technology on them. And I also like that they include the reflective sidewalls for increased visibility at night. The Model F comes with this front fork, and again, they take the extra time and paint it. And I looked closely here at the sticker, and you can see this is a Zoom front suspension, a brand I'm very familiar with. You'll see Zoom branded components on many electric bikes these days. There is a lockout here for that front fork. I'll go ahead and push on the front suspension so you can get an idea of what to expect. Certainly going to soak up some bumps along the way. Let's move on to the front light. Integrated, runs off the main battery. Now, what's nice, of course, it does come pre-installed as you simply roll this bike out of the box. As with many of these integrated lights, they provide much more visibility, both be seen and seen at night. But I always recommend if you're riding a lot during the daylight, it's always good to have a rechargeable light on your handlebars. The blinking modes can let motorists see you a little bit easier, but nice to have an integrated front light regardless. Let's move on to the cable management. I actually really like what they do here. You can see we have some shrink tubing here, but then we also have this covering that kind of wraps the cables all together here. They do a really nice job. And then what's unique about the Electric Bike Company bikes is they kind of square the head tube here, and that allows the cables to be more hidden, and of course the front basket to be mounted here. Now, my personal opinion is if you're looking at one of these electric bikes, is strongly consider the basket. Not only is it nice to have the front storage and it's a high quality accessory, but it also kind of makes this front end look really complete as opposed to kind of a square taper here, but personal preference. Now, towards the end of the walk around, I will go ahead and fold the bike, but here is the clasp that unlocks here that allows you to fold the handlebars down. And I should also note that when I received this electric bike, I did have to tighten the bolt underneath here just slightly. So maybe you do want to give the bike a once over before you start riding it, or take it to a bike shop if you don't feel comfortable. Let's move on to the cockpit. So we have the Electric Bike Company branded grips. You can see they kind of imprint their logo here. These are the same grips that you'll find on their other bikes, though they do come in other colors. You can get the tan ones as well, and they are locking. I find them to be quite comfortable, and of course, I really like that Electric Bike Company takes the extra time and kind of puts some finishing touches on this electric bike. I already mentioned Bangle. These are Bangle levers here, and it's actually a brand that I haven't seen other companies use, but I find they perform extremely well. They feel very high quality, and of course they have the motor cutoffs. So as soon as you hit the brakes, it's going to cut power to the motor. Again, the Bangle brakes are something I have experience with their other models. Let's jump to the right side. I just want to show off the right-hand thumb throttle here. Now, Electric Bike Company on their website states that they don't use the twist grip throttles due to safety concerns, and I can certainly appreciate that because I have seen people who hop on an electric bike and accidentally twist the throttle, so that's why they have opted for a thumb throttle. Usually we see the throttles on the left side, but they opted to put it on the right side, probably a personal preference. I personally didn't mind having ridden this bike around a little bit. Next, there is some additional adjustability here with the handlebars. You can raise them up and down with this quick release. Again, we see this feature on many of the folding electric bikes that we review. Be sure that you don't raise the handlebars past the minimum insertion point. Speaking of handlebars, one thing I wanted to call out is the width of the handlebars. So when I started riding this electric bike around, I thought that they might be a little bit shorter than some of the other folding electric bikes. I measured these at 22.5 inches wide. So if you find that you want something a little bit wider, you can go ahead and purchase some. But something I wanted to call out because it is a little bit of a different feel compared to other folding electric bikes. But again, it also allows it to fit into tighter spaces because they are a little bit less wide. We'll maybe throw on the screen some other widths from other folding electric bikes that we've reviewed. Let's hop into the display here. So left-hand controls, very common, middle power button. Again, branded here, Electric Bike Company as you start it up. Now, while it might not be showing up as well on camera, this display is actually pretty easy to read. During the daylight, it's actually pretty bright out and I can read the display just fine. We have a battery meter in the top left-hand corner with voltage. We have temperature here, currently a nice day in Wisconsin. Miles per hour, front and center. And on the left side, we have pedal assist. One thing to keep in mind with the Electric Bike Company display is that when you turn the display on, you can see that it says PAS off. That means that the pedal assist is actually turned off. So you actually have to turn that off so that it enables pedal assist. And you do so by holding the pedal assist down button. And you can see that setting went away. Now pedal assist is active. So if you do purchase one of the Electric Bike Company electric bikes and you're wondering why pedal assist isn't working, that's why. Pedal assist levels from 0, obviously off, all the way up to 5. Wattage is also displayed in the bottom left-hand corner, which is really nice to see. And we do have a trip distance as well as trip time. And I believe TTM is the total trip meter. You can see 54 minutes. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, we do have odometer. Hitting the middle button here on the controls will give you average speed and max speed, and back to current speed. And continuing the cable management, we have cables entering the frame both on the left and right side, internally routed. You can see there's no cables underneath the frame here, and they are routed all the way to the back of the Model F. There's some Electric Bike Company branding around the bike. You can see Electric Bike Company here, established in 2014, so they've been at it for quite some time. And you can see in the rear here, they're very proud that these bikes are 100% designed and built in the United States with global materials. Again, that plays into just the high quality of these bikes. And you can see we have the Electric Bike Company logo here on the seat tube. Let's move on to the battery. So we do have a plug here. You can charge the battery both on and off the bike with their 3.5 amp charger, slightly faster than some electric bikes, and it does have a fan on it as well. Keyhole here on the left side, just to note you don't need the keys in for the bike to operate. Going to turn the key to the left here, pop the battery out. Electric Bike Company includes a 48 volt, 12 amp hour battery on the Model F. There is an LED at the end of the battery which shows you your battery capacity, or at least gives you an idea of how full it is. There's a look at where the battery sits, and to put the battery back, simply insert this end first at an angle and push it down. Moving on to the pedals, this is a folding electric bike after all. Plastic folding pedals, simply push in and tilt up. We have some Electric Bike Company branded cranks here. And in the rear is this very large kickstand located out of the way of the pedals. Really like that, no chance of the pedals coming in contact with it when you're moving the bike around. Moving on to the rear lights, we have some unique lights that I haven't seen any other brand use. They're actually fairly bright. You can see them a little bit better in the daylight than some of the other standard lights, and there's one on each side, which is nice. Here's a closer look at the rear hydraulic disc brake. And again, a rear rack is available for this electric bike if you do decide to purchase one for additional cargo capability. Moving on to the motor. So they actually have started branding these motors EBC, but this is the same MXUS motor that we see on many, if not all of the Electric Bike Company electric bikes, and it is super powerful, Stay tuned for the first-person riding footage, and I'll talk a little bit more about the capability of this motor, and you can see how it performs up our large hill climb test. One important factor on this folding electric bike is that it is a single speed, as you can see here. Again, I'll talk about the gearing in a little bit when I get to the first-person riding footage. But in the rear here, we have 16 teeth, and in the front, we have a massive 48-tooth front chainring that will allow riders to put in more power at the higher speeds. You can see the motor cable coming in on the right side here with that quick release in case you ever need to do any maintenance. The folding mechanism is on the right side here. Again, I'll fold this bike up in a little bit, but this is the very similar clasp that we see on many folding bikes. Let's move on to the saddle. One of the highlights of the Electric Bike Company bikes is that they come with this very wide, very comfortable saddle. Again, you can get it in tan as well, depending on the color. And of course, if you customize this electric bike, you can select what seat you want. And one unique thing with Electric Bike Company, say you want to buy the red bike, but you actually just want to swap out the seat, I'm sure they would be happy to do so if you just give them a call. Again, these bikes are all made to order, so they're able to offer some of those customizations which simply aren't available with other brands. Another thing I really like about the Electric Bike Company bikes is they do offer an anti-theft alarm system. In fact, the Model F comes with this anti-theft alarm system. So you get 2 key fobs, very similar to one you'd find on your car, as well as a keychain, and they do give you some fuses as well, along with all the tools that you should need if you, for instance, need to tighten any bolts around your electric bike. They also give you some cable snips, so just very well thought out package when you receive it. I'll go ahead and show how this alarm works here. So to lock the bike, simply hit the lock button here. It will confirm that the bike is indeed locked. And if you move the bike around, that's the warning. And if you keep moving the bike around, it will alarm, again, super loud and a nice feature, especially when you have such a nice electric bike. Before we get into folding the Model F, there's one thing that I wanted to call out in particular about the frame geometry and the design of this electric bike, and that is the pedal distance from the ground to the bottom of the pedal. I'll put the crank here in the bottom position, and I'm just gonna estimate the distance here. It looks to be about 8 inches or so. So I have the Ride One Up Core 5 here, and just as a comparison, these pedals from the ground to the bottom of the pedal is about 4 inches. Now, not being a bike geometry expert myself, I'm not sure the exact reason for this, if it's the length of the cranks or partially due to the larger tires or the frame design, maybe a multitude of those factors. But what that means is when you're riding this electric bike, if you really want to get full leg extension, you need to raise the seat higher than you otherwise would. And that's due, of course, to the pedals being closer to the rider as opposed to the pedals being closer to the ground. I'll just give you an example here. You can see that the seat is right where it should be if you're kind of measuring where you can get full leg extension. And if I hop on the Model F here, you can see that with the crank in its lowest position, I still do have quite a bit of bend to my knees. Now, if I go ahead and move the seat up even higher around the minimum insertion point right about there, now it's actually easier for me to get on the bike by leveraging the nice step-through frame and hopping on the seat here. And now I'm in a much more preferred riding position for myself, a slight bend at the knee. Now, of course, with the seat in its higher position and the pedals toward me, if I go ahead and pedal the electric bike a little bit, it's just more difficult for me to get off the bike on the side just because I'm so much higher. So in my opinion, if you are looking at purchasing the Model F, the way I would personally recommend getting off this bike is coming to a stop and just hopping forward, because you do have this really nice step through. And this is something that I really wanted to get across because it is something that is unique about the Model F. Now let's get into folding the bike. So as with all the folding electric bikes that we review, we like showcasing it in our infamous tote. And I'm actually not sure if this bike is going to fit in this tote, but we're gonna see here in a little bit and find out. But what's nice is if your folding electric bike does fit in the tote, just makes it easier to move around. you can carry it easier with 2 people as well. So I'm going to start by folding the pedals. Again, push in and fold. And I'll actually go ahead and lower the seat. And then I'll go ahead and fold the handlebars here. And now you have the main clasp that I showcased earlier. Open that up. Now, one thing I think they should improve upon with this bike is they should include a stand here. On many folding electric bikes, we see companies that weld a stand here, and of course, that is so when you fold the electric bike, it has something to sit on. So when this bike is folded, there is no real balancing point for it to sit. And of course, with this beautifully painted frame, you want to keep the frame looking nice. So I really think they can make a big improvement on this bike if they added a stand here. Now, if you're not folding this electric bike at all, maybe that's not a big issue for you. Before I fold the bike, I do have a moving blanket I'm going to set down just to prevent the frame from getting scratched. What works well for me is moving that left pedal so it's kind of pointed at an angle. And then I'll go ahead and kind of use my leg. You can see those internally routed cables here, and I'll put the kickstand up. Now you can see if I were to set the bike down, here on grass, it actually seems like it stands okay, but if you're on pavement or anything, it's going to scratch up the frame. Now, let's see if it fits in the tote. Lift up on the bike here. Wow, I'm so impressed that this fits in the tote. And wow, even with those 24-inch tires, it does seem to fit in our infamous tote. Okay, now that we know it fits, let's get into some first-person riding footage and see what the electric bike company Model F can do. All right, first-person riding footage on the electric bike company Model F. Have a few things to talk about here. So electric bike company advertises that this comes shipped as a class 2 electric bike, which means a top speed of 20 miles per hour with the throttle or while pedaling. This one came as a class 2 electric bike in the sense that with throttle only, it kicked off at 20 miles an hour. But then when I started pedaling, I was able to get 23, 24 miles per hour out of that. Now I did go ahead and go into the advanced settings and completely override this so we can see what the performance really is. Of course, you should follow all local laws and regulations before you make any changes in the advanced settings. There's my disclaimer. So we're actually going to see what this bike can do. I have the speedometer app by Cool Nix. You can see there's just not a ton of room here on the handlebars for my cell phone mount, and then of course my cell phone, which actually is a fairly large screen. One thing to note is that in pedal assist level 0, you don't have any access to the throttle. And another thing is the pedal assist levels do coincide with how much power you get with the throttle depending at the level you're at. So I'll go through that as well. All right, first test here, going into pedal assist level 5 and throttle only. Again, normally this bike would top out at 20 miles per hour from the factory, from Electric Bike Company. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, throttle only, pedal assist level 5. And just to note, it is pretty windy today. All right, there's 9, 12. Display is reading a little bit more, 21. There's 20 on my GPS. 24, 25 on the GPS. So it looks like throttle only, top speed of 25, maybe 26 miles an hour. Looks more like 25. And again, it seemed like the display was reading more accurately the speed as I was gaining speed. And then it took a little bit longer for the GPS to catch up. And then the display was reading a little bit less at those higher speeds. All right, throttle only now in the various pedal assist levels. Pedal assist level 1 going about 14 miles an hour, 13. So the Electric Bike Company display is reading 12.8. And my GPS is saying about 13. All right, pedal assist level 2, throttle only. Looks like we're going to get about 16 miles an hour. Pedal assist level 3. Looks like we're hitting the 18, maybe 19 miles an hour. Pedal assist level 4. going about 22, 23. And of course, we know what pedal assist 5 is going to get us to. All right, now the question I get from people or just random people that see me riding an electric bike is, how heavy is it and can you ride it with no motor power? A lot of people still want to make sure they're getting exercise, and some people just want to know, can you ride it if you run out of battery? And with this bike, I would say compared to others, it's just going to be a little bit more difficult given that it is a single speed and it is geared pretty high. If you watch the Walkaround, we have that giant 58 tooth front chainring. Now I am able to pedal this without the pedal assist on, but it's going to be at a slower speed. I'm going about 9 or 10 miles an hour. So it just doesn't allow you to really control your cadence without having those gears, though yes, you can pedal it without the battery, but your legs are just going to be spinning a little bit slower, and I would imagine most people would shift down if they were able to on this bike. And that's the case with many single speeds. And of course, as someone who usually rides e-bikes at faster speeds, I personally prefer it to be higher geared so I can continue to put in my own power at higher speeds. And one last thing that I will mention with the higher gearing with the single speed is that it might be easier for most people to actually use the throttle to get started for that very reason of that with the cadence sensor, it's just going to take a little bit longer for that motor to kick in. So if you're looking at this bike, you might want to use the throttle to get started. All right, now let's get into the various pedal assist levels. I just went into pedal assist level 1 and I'm just gonna stop here for a second. Yeah, and get going. Pedal assist level 1, what I really like is that it's just giving you a little bit of boost, which of course is nice if you're just doing a very leisurely cruise, and it's not going to jerk you. I feel like the way the motor delivers the power is really nice. And of course, those are settings that can be changed in the controller. I was going about 7 or 8 miles an hour. All right, pedal assist level 2, going about 10 miles an hour or so, 11, 12. Let's go into pedal assist level 3. Again, as I'm going into the higher pedal assist levels, my legs are spinning a little bit more, obviously traveling at a higher speed. All right, now we're at 16, 17, 18 miles an hour. And again, I would say I'm providing some effort, but not working too terribly hard. There's 20 miles an hour in pedal assist level 3. Again, it's going to be slightly different with the motor capped at 20 miles per hour. And the nice thing is, of course, you can go in and make those changes. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 4. $23 miles an hour. And let's go into pedal assist level 5. And we are working against the wind now. So now I'm finally starting to feel like my legs are spinning, where I wouldn't quite call it ghost pedaling, but probably a faster cadence than I'd prefer. I am providing some effort, and we're going at 26 miles an hour here. 25, which is not surprising given what this motor can do just by itself. All right, so we know what the bike can do on flat ground, but let's test it out on our large hill climb test. Okay, hill climb test on the Model F. Now I am starting a little bit closer to the hill than I normally do. Just been waiting for a train and decided to go around. So this is the hill that we test out all of our electric bikes, so you can compare and contrast. We'll throw a picture of the hill on the screen because the GoPro makes it look so much smaller than it actually is. We'll also throw the specs on the hill as well. First test, throttle only in pedal assist level 5. We'll get up to speed here. I have to say, thus far, I've been super impressed with the MX US motors that Electric Bike Company uses. I actually think a lot of more companies should use them because I think their performance is really good. All right, we hit 24, now we're going 20, hitting the hill. And it's kind of funny because Electric Bike Company, obviously known for their cruiser style electric bikes, but then they have a motor that's super capable. And the battery is probably right around 80% full or so. Says I'm down 1 bar out of the 5, reading 44.7 volts. And it says we are using about 870 or so watts. And it looks like it's going to hold us very easily at 14 miles an hour. I think that was the minimum speed. So it looks like the peak power on the motor is just shy of 900 watts. Still plenty capable of getting you up a steep hill like this one. All right, so we know the bike can climb hills on throttle alone, but I always recommend pedaling. Of course, this is an electric bicycle after all. So I'm going to go back down the hill and we'll do it again while pedaling. Okay, hill climb test while pedaling. We'll start off in pedal assist level 1. Now, just a note, coming down the hill, no problem with those Bango hydraulic disc brakes. Provide plenty of stopping power, great component on the bike. And you're probably not going to be using pedal assist level 1. I can barely keep the pedals moving. It's pretty difficult. And I'm using just 60 watts, it looks like, going 4 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist level 2. Looks like we're up above 100 watts. Again, putting in a lot of effort here. Now we're at about 150 watts or so. Let's go into pedal assist level 3. Using about 230 or so watts, 250 watts. All right, pedal assist level 4. Now we're in the 300 watts. It's finally becoming more easy for me to pedal. Again, with the higher gearing. So I would say pedal assist level 4, definitely doable. Probably where you would want to be at if you wanted to conserve some battery. But I do think you do need to be in the higher pedal assist levels for hills. And of course, if you start in the pedal assist level much before the hill, unlike what I did, it'll be a little bit easier, have some momentum. So using just shy of 400 watts in pedal assist level 4. All right, let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 5, and that's where I feel a pretty significant boost. And now I would say it's becoming easy for me to pedal, again, using about 850 or so watts. So if it were me and I had to commute up this hill every day, I would most definitely be in pedal assist level 5. Use the power of that motor and still provide, of course, some effort while going up the hill and just be at a more reasonable cadence. All right, with that, let's get into some third-person riding footage and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Electric Bike Company Model F. The Electric Bike Company Model F. We first previewed this e-bike in our Best Folding e-bikes video, link in the corner of your screen, and finally it's here. I always get extra excited unboxing an Electric Bike Company e-bike, not only because they come virtually fully assembled on a truck, but also because they simply stand out from almost every e-bike. While I can appreciate Electric Bike Company, or EBC for short, focusing on cruiser e-bikes and going deeper into that category than any other e-bike brand, I am so excited to see them venture off into other styles of e-bikes so more people will get to experience the quality e-bikes they are known for. And it's not surprising they started with a folding e-bike given their popularity. Now the Model F stands out, yes, for its quality, but also for these larger tires. It's a slightly different feel than some of the smaller fat tire e-bikes, but the steering and riding position are virtually the same, so the ride felt familiar. The bike is outfitted well, nice plush front suspension, high quality hydraulic disc brakes, perhaps the most comfortable saddle on an e-bike, colorful and easy to read LCD display, built-in alarm, and the usual EBC built in the US touches throughout. Once you see an electric bike company e-bike in person, you'll know what I mean. The quality continues to their custom fenders, rear racks, and my favorite, the front basket. I highly recommend you check out all the ways you can outfit this e-bike to make it your own, even if it's just to play around with the color customizer. Now, of course, that quality does come at a cost, at least comparatively speaking, in the folding e-bike space, and remember to not forget to factor in the cost of shipping. You'll certainly find some other folding e-bikes with 14 amp hour batteries or larger compared to the 12 amp hour battery on the Model F. Those who don't live in a hilly area may love the simplicity of the single speed drivetrain on the Model F, and others may long for having gears. Just remember that thumb throttle is always at the ready with the powerful 750 watt motor that peaks around 850 watts. I do hope that electric bike company considers adding a stand for this e-bike when it's folded, as it would be a shame to scratch the nice paint job. And I'd personally add some wider handlebars on this e-bike if I were riding it every day. And it's worth calling out again that it is much easier to hop forward to get off this e-bike when coming to a stop and stand over the frame and slide back to get on. The step through, of course, makes these maneuvers easy. It's more something to get used to for people like me who are used to hopping on and off a bike from the side. So yes, the Model F is a sweet bike from a company I have certainly come to appreciate. Best of all, it folds for those who want to throw it in the back of a vehicle, and then of course it doesn't require an expensive e-bike rated rack. It might not be perfect for everyone, but it might be perfect for you. If you do plan to purchase an e-bike from Electric Bike Company, I have one favor to ask. Use our link in the description, which helps us to continue to review electric bikes and provide our honest thoughts. Other resources down in the description as well. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.